Hey everybody, welcome back to In Bed with a Millennial. I'm the Millennial Javeda Bay, and this is my bed, and it is still Kinktober. Which if you have not been following along on all of the social media platforms like babes, you are missing out on learning a lot about different kinks. But today I want to talk a little bit more about kinks if you play with other people and what exactly is a scene. So let's get into it. So I'm sure you've heard the word scene before because it's used in a lot of different things like theater, movies, all that stuff. When it comes to kink and BDSM though, a scene is essentially the actual full experience of a kinky interaction. And by that I mean a scene is when you plan out what exactly you're going to do ahead of time with your partner. And so scenes can go a lot of different ways. Some people like to get very involved and really plan out the details. Other people are like, let's just bare bones this and then go with the flow of things. And some people like to be somewhere in the middle of that. Obviously, it's going to depend on you and your partner and what y'all feel most comfortable with in terms of your actual scene. But regardless of what you're doing, creating your scene is going to be extremely important because one, this is where you negotiate what you're okay with happening in this actual moment in time. Two, it's how you can actually consent to specific activities. And three, it's where you can make sure y'all are both on the same page of how things play out and also where that important conversation around aftercare happens. So, what does it mean to actually negotiate and create a scene? Few different things. One, you're figuring out what activities you're wanting to do in that time frame. So if y'all are like, cool, tonight after work, let's do a scene, let's have some fun, the kids are at grandma's, we got the house to ourselves, let's enjoy it. Love that. You're just going to want to consider some things like one, the actual amount of time you have. Is this something that you're like, cool, we got 3 hours that we can just have fun and do whatever we want in that time? Or is it a little bit less and you're like, we only got an hour because we have to pick up the kids from grandma's or do whatever you might have to do. So figuring out how much time you are going to want to allot is going to be important when it comes to your scene creation. And then deciding what it is that you want to do. Are you after a particular sensation, experience? Or are you wanting to try something new? Are you like, let's stick to the tried and true? We know it checks all of our boxes and we'll be good. If you are like, I don't even know how we would start to decide what activities we want to do, you're going to use a yes, no, maybe list. And if you're like, I don't know where to get one, my website is where you get one, okay? But a yes, no, maybe list can really help you try and figure out exactly what it is that you might want to do in that particular time frame that you have. Now, when it comes to actually planning out everything for your scene, you're negotiating the actual activities that you want to engage in, and your limits around it. So if you're like, cool, I want to do some impact play. Great. Are we just talking spanking? Are we okay if we use implements like a flogger or a paddle or a riding crop? What are we okay with? That is what this negotiating a scene conversation has to include. You can't just be super broad and open-ended of cool, let's do impact play because that can go a lot of different ways unless you and your partner have talked about it and y'all are like, no, I like the surprise of it. Like I say the general area of activity that I want to do and then they do the rest of the work. That's totally fine, but a conversation obviously needs to happen before that. But yeah, so figuring out what it is that you want to do, deciding what type of tools are going to be needed because again, you have to prepare ahead of time. So all of that happens in the scene negotiation conversation. And then also the consent conversation, which does not just stop at the scene creation. You're still going to have a consent conversation before you start the scene and throughout the scene. Consent is continuous. But when you are actually planning out your scene ahead of time, you are talking with your partner like, okay, I know the last time we did this, you safe worded because you weren't really enjoying XYZ aspect of this. Do you want me to not include this? Do you want to try it again? Where are you at with this? So being very specific in terms of figuring out the details, especially if past experiences have shown you some things and taught you something about oh, well, I might need to adjust for these reasons. You want to actually have this conversation with your partner. Do not just make changes without having a conversation. Communication is key. Okay. Okay. So yes, in your scene negotiation, creation, conversation, we're also consenting to the activities, planning out materials, figuring out what we want to do, and also revisiting our safe words. You want to make sure you're on the same page about safe words, whether you're using the stoplight system or if you have your own safe words that you and your partner created. You want to make sure y'all are on the same page before the day comes that y'all are actually doing your scene. So yeah, and then the aftercare conversation needs to happen during the scene creation. So again, you're prepared. And if you're like, I don't even know how to get started with aftercare, baby, you know I got you covered. I just released a blog on my website that is talking about like figuring out aftercare because it can be a little overwhelming, especially if you're new to Kink and BDSM or if you just have a new partner and y'all are like, I don't know how to figure out what it is that I would like. So you can head on over to my website to like take advantage of that resource. But make sure you are including the aftercare conversation in your scene creation, planning, negotiation conversation. And take notes, like make sure you're aware of like what it is that your person wants or likes after y'all play together, so you have everything you need ahead of time, because I promise nothing kills the mood more than having said ahead of time like, hey, make sure like for aftercare I would like XYZ things, and then everything happens, the scene happens, aftercare rolls around, and the XYZ things are not prepared. So be prepared. Now, when it comes to creating a scene, like as I said earlier, there's a lot of different ways to go about it. Some people like to be really detailed. Some people are like loosey goosey, let's just go with the flow. You and your partner should figure out what works for you. Some people trying to like fine tune all the details ahead of time just like does not work. Neurodivergent folk, that could be us sometimes. Or it's like I need to like know what the plan is. Like how long are we gonna spend with impact play? How long are we gonna spend with like bondage? Like give me a breakdown of things. Whatever works for you is what you should be doing. There is no perfect way for everyone to create a scene. Like everyone has a way that works for them, but it's not a universal perfect way. So talk with your partner, figure out what works for y'all, and then proceed with that. Okay? Okay. Um, but yeah, scenes are really great. They're a way for you to actually put some thought into it beforehand instead of just like springing kinky stuff on your partner. Because one, we don't do that. If you have not had a conversation about something beforehand, you don't just start doing it in the middle of sex. That includes all the things. So if you're like, oh, I think I want to spank them, if you have not talked about it, you're not just gonna start spanking them during sex. Oh, I think I'm gonna call them a dirty name. No, you're not. You're gonna talk about it beforehand. And that's why scene creation is very important, but also very valuable in the sense of like having these conversations beforehand and then implementing them and like integrating them into your play with each other as it makes sense and y'all have both consented to, because you don't just drop new things on people without ever having a conversation. That goes real bad real fast. Okay. Okay. But yeah, scene creation doesn't have to be super overwhelming. But if you are wanting a little bit more deeper dive into this, make sure you check my website out later this week, where I am dropping a blog article that's just like a nice little guide to scene creation, in case you need something to refer back to that's not a video that you would have to watch. But yeah, that is that. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel because it's Kinktober, and like, hello, the kinky place to be is the effing network. And definitely make sure that you are following me on all the social media platforms, especially Instagram and TikTok, if you would like to learn more about kinks and fetishes and things of that nature, because that's what I'm sharing all month long. And definitely make sure you subscribe to my email newsletter, because everyone on there finds out everything first. And why would you not want to be, you know? But yeah, that's that. Um, I hope that you have a really kinky week, and make sure you come back next week for another episode of In Bed with a Millennial. But until then, I'm going to see you later. Deuces.